Hello, Wonderhussy here in the middle of nowhere at a place called the Arizona Strip. No, that's not something they do down at them clubs in Phoenix, although they do got a lot of nice girls down there. The Arizona Strip is actually the name for the little tiny corner of Arizona that pokes up and crosses Interstate 15 when you're driving from Nevada into Utah. It's north of the Grand Canyon. There's this little tiny corner of Arizona that really feels more like you're in Nevada or Utah. And as you can see from looking at the landscape, it really is a little bit of both. We got lots of pretty Joshua trees, which you see all over Nevada, but then we've also got these beautiful red mesas, which is what Utah is known for. And then also there's a little bit of Arizona blue sky. So a little bit of all three states. And as a matter of fact, I'm actually right at the spot where all three of those states come together. And as you can probably hear from the dogs yapping in the background, I'm not alone. There's about 1,001 side-by-siders out here as well, which stands to reason on such a beautiful, sunny winter's day. I know I'm wearing short sleeves, but guess what? It's February 10th today, I think, and that means we are smack dab in the middle of winter, but you'd never know it out here in the desert. Anyway, believe it or not, there's actually a little monument here at the Three Corners. Okay, you've maybe heard about Four Corners. It's a big fancy park down where Utah, Arizona, Colorado, and New Mexico meet up, and I did a video there last spring. Well, this is Three Corners. And sure, there's no big fancy paved plaza with a bunch of Native Americans selling made in China, quote unquote, Native American tchotchkes. And sure, there's no entrance fee, but there is way more here than I expected. I didn't think there was going to be anything out here, but there is a little monument here that shows you the three states. And here's the spot in the middle, exactly where we are: Nevada, Utah, and Arizona. That little metal nipple right there is us. Boy, talk about the Arizona Strip. And then there's also the flags. We've got the Utah state flag. We've got the Arizona state flag. We've got the Nevada state flag. And we got the American flag. One flag to rule them all. Anyway, I seriously didn't think there was going to be anything here. You can't see this on Google Earth. It looks like it's just a bare patch of desert. I did not expect there to be all these people here, let alone a bunch of flags and an actual monument. It's pretty cool, even if it's not the desolation I envisioned. But that's okay, because there's plenty of desolation in the desert around here. And what's more, like I always say, the middle of nowhere has all the most interesting stuff. Okay, my online research indicates that there is a number of interesting attractions in the Arizona Strip. And since I happen to be passing through this part of the country today, I figured why not stop and investigate. Oh man, I did not expect that many people to be at that Three Corners monument. And they were nice folks, but, well, they sort of crimped my style as to what I was planning to say when I was standing astride Arizona, Nevada, and Utah. Like, I was gonna talk about how I could smoke dope over here on this side of the line, but if I smoke dope over on this side of the line, I'll end up in jail. That's right, Nevada and Arizona have recreational marijuana legalized, but Utah, well, you know how them Mormons are. So hopefully it's not as crowded at the next point of interest we stop at in this gorgeous part of the country. Not sure exactly what you would call it. Nevezota? Neverizut? Aranevute? None of those really roll off the tongue like Cal Navari. There's a bunch of side-by-siders here, too! And I don't know why I expected it to be any different in Arizona than it was in Nevada. That's right, the last spot we were at was on the Nevada side of the border. But now we're over here on the Arizona side at a place called Thelma and Louise Canyon? Or Thelma and Louise Road? I'm not sure. It was marked as just Thelma and Louise on Google Maps, and I think that's because the road kind of dead ends at the rim of this canyon. Well, I don't know if you would actually call this a canyon. It looks to me like it's a wash, you know, like a seasonal river comes roaring through here on the rare occasions that it rains up in them there hills. But I guess it's close enough to a canyon where it could pass for the iconic ledge that Thelma and Louise drove over in the movie. Oh, okay, remember that movie Thelma and Louise? The two women, they get fed up, men keep doing them wrong and they can't take it no more, and so they just set off on this crazy road trip, robbing and shooting, and I think they even kill a guy along the way. Oh yeah, that's why they have to set off on the trip in the first place. They're at a honky-tonk, and I think Thelma gets kind of tipsy, and then this redneck guy gets real frisky with her, and he tries to rape her, and then I think Louise shoots him, and then they have to run from the law. Oh, it's a crazy movie. Anyway, at the end of that movie, they drive over the edge of a canyon, and I guess that's why they call this Thelma and Louise. Because, as you can see, from the proliferation of side-by-sides, this road ends right at the edge of this canyon. You know, really, there's so many more impressive canyons not that far from here. In fact, the actual canyon where they filmed that scene from Thelma and Louise is up in Canyonlands Park, not that far from here. You'd think they'd be ashamed to call this a canyon. But then again, we aren't in Utah yet. We're still in Arizona. Although, wait a minute, isn't Arizona the home of the granddaddy of all canyons? Well, anyway, we're here at what passes for a canyon on the Arizona Strip. And, well, there's a few things of note over here. There's, looks like memorials. People put memorials to people who passed away. Oh my gosh, look at this. Remington Sue Wilson, born in 2022, died in 2023. A baby, only 1 year old. Oh my gosh, I wonder what happened to poor Remington. And then there's another memorial right next to hers. This one is for a guy named Claude Sonny Rhodes. He lived to be 71. That's a decent length of a life. It looks like his friends have come out here and put little things on his memorial for him. Oh gosh, then there's this one here for the legend, Nate. Born in 91, died in 23. Oh dear, he was young too. Dirt biker. And he does look like he knew how to have a good time, judging by the looks of that spiked Arnold Palmer. I thought the whole point of an Arnold Palmer was so that you didn't drink alcohol, but okay, Nate. I'm hardly one to criticize. I've been known to knock back a few myself. Next to Nate, we got Jerry Wheeler. He also looks like he was a fun guy, judging from the pot leaf on his plaque. And then we got Ron Waits, aka Trashy. This one I can't read. Looks like maybe it said Vern Fisher, 1954 to 2020. And then next to Vern, we have Tim. And, well, presumably Tim's boots and hat. I wonder if he died with his boots on. And then next to Tim, we have Kay. And Kay's Yeti tumbler cemented into her memorial for all the rest of time at the edge of this canyon. Pretty cool that these people had friends who loved them enough to go through the trouble of putting these memorials up at the edge of this beautiful canyon. But as interesting as those memorials are, that's not why I came out here. No, sir, I came out here because I saw photos on Google Maps of this Thelma and Louise point. I'm still not sure what to call it. Thelma and Louise, apparently it's a place where folks from all over the place come and leave their brassieres, their bras, their over-the-shoulder boulder holders, whatever you want to call them. There's a bunch of them hanging on this old barbed wire fence. Ooh, and some of them are kind of cute. Woo, woo. Boy, I'd like to see the gal that filled this ginormous black bra out, although look how much foam was in it. Anyway, the last of the side-by-siders finally rolled out of here, and so for once in my life, I have this glorious location all to myself. How romantic. Anyway, this is one of those odd attractions in the desert that are somewhat conflicting for me. Like, I like stuff like this. Obviously, I drove all the dang way out here to look at this collection of busted old bras strung up on a barbed wire fence. Is it art? Well, boy, man, I can find something nice to say about everything, but calling this art is a stretch even for me. This kind of reminds me of a place I went to called Tonka Town out near Barstow in the desert. It was like a little village made out of toys. People have been coming and leaving toys there for years and years and years, and I guess it was meant to look like a little toy village, but the sun baked all the plastic and it just ended up degrading into this big pile of trash. And well, this fence line of bras, and oh gosh, it's not even only bras. I just noticed, isn't this a thong? Woo-wee, there's some panties on here too. Anyway, this long line of bras, panties, teddy bears, and beer bottles stuck on this barbed wire fence is also gonna degrade pretty quickly in the sun and probably end up blowing away and becoming desert trash. Although, golly, somebody had to spend a lot of money to win this teddy bear at the county fair. Gosh, I wonder what happened. Some guy was trying to impress a girl, so he paid $5 for 3 throws, and you know how those carnival games are, they're all rigged. Those carnies have them rigged, and so he struck out. He thought, well, I'm never gonna get in Betty Lou's pants if I don't win or something. So he paid another $5, got another 3 throws. And guess what? He still struck out because it was still crooked. So then he paid his last $5. It was the last $5 he had left from his Walmart paycheck for 3 more throws. And this time, well, the poor carny took pity on him and let him win. And so he won this giant teddy bear, and he brought it to his girlfriend, or his girl that he was hoping would be his girlfriend. Let's call her Bernice. He gave this teddy bear to Bernice, and Bernice looked at him and said, "What do you think I am? It took you $15 to win this teddy bear. I would never be with a man who wastes money like that." And so she broke up with him, or I guess never got with him to begin with, and so he was so mad, well, he brought this giant teddy bear out here and left it tied up to this barbed wire fence with a bunch of bras and panties. Or at least I imagine that's what might have happened. Oh gosh, look at this. There's like a little stuffed wolf. There's, oh god, a bunch of unspeakably gross and alarmingly giant bras. Golly, these things are making me feel very inadequate. In fact, I didn't bring a bra with me to leave here because I am kind of conflicted about things like this, and well, you know me, I don't want to litter or set a bad example, but even if I did leave one of my bras here, you'd barely even be able to see it compared to these ginormous, utter hammocks. Anyway, well, I guess that's about all there is to this Thelma and Louise. And again, like I said, it's kind of in the eye of the beholder, I guess. I mean, I do think things like this are kind of interesting just because any man-made object in the middle of nowhere is kind of interesting to me. I can't tell you how many hours and gallons of gas I've spent driving out to check out some thing in the desert that turns out to be nothing more than an old abandoned corral or water tank. But you never know, man. You gotta kiss a lot of frogs before you find that prince. Anyway, this is Arizona, y'all. Boy, talk about the Arizona Strip. Woo! Woo! Just got an idea for a real clickbaity thumbnail for this video. Yeah, I know it's cheesy, but hey, I need views. Anyway, since our first stop was in Nevada, and our second stop was in Arizona, and we are in the tri-state region, well, I feel like our next stop ought to be in Utah. You know, now that I think about it, there's also a Thelma and Louise Road out where I live on the edge of Death Valley. But we have way too many environmentalists to tolerate a bunch of bras and teddy bears out there. Anyway, here's the next point of interest. Why keep talking about bras and teddy bears when we could be looking at this? Well, I guess it's a sinkhole. I mean, you can see... Actually, you can hear, whoop, Ricola. Anyway, you can see we're just in the middle of a sort of high desert, well, alluvial fan, I guess, leading up into these mountains up there. But then, for whatever reason, there's this giant, I mean, I'm guessing it has to be a sinkhole in the middle of absolutely nowhere. I mean, I don't know if they were mining or digging for water or if they were somehow messing around out here and man in his infinite wisdom did something to cause this sinkhole, or if it was just naturally sunk. I don't know, is that the past tense for sinking a sinkhole? Anyway, I feel like I saw a picture of this on Facebook once, or somebody told me about it, and I've had it pinned on my map for a long time. I just haven't gotten out to this unexpectedly fascinating part of the country until now. Okay, like I said, I guess we're technically not in the Arizona Strip anymore since we're in Utah now. That's right, we're in Utah. Don't smoke any dope. Put that pipe away. Cover your nips. Anyway, I think we're in Utah. Hold on a minute. Oh gosh, look at that. We're still in Arizona. Forget what I said about putting that pipe away. Bust out your joints and let's take off our tops. Woo! Judging from the amount of broken beer bottles on the rim of this sinkhole, I probably wouldn't be the first person to take my top off at this remote overlook. Oh gosh, you know how they talk about car porn? Look at that. Isn't that a nice, pretty shot of my car against that gorgeous desert background? We can see Nevada in the distance. That's where we just came from. And then Utah is just up the road that way. That's where we're going next. But first, I'm going to thoroughly cover this sinkhole by walking all the way around it and just seeing if there's anything interesting to be seen here. I mean, as far as sinkholes go, I guess it's pretty impressive. I mean, I don't want to walk too close to the edge in case it caves in and I get stuck down there. But I guess even if I did fall down into that sinkhole, oh look, there's my shadow. Hi. Even if I did, it looks like there is a trail. People do scramble down into it, into that cave, which I'm sure isn't full of anything other than bat shit and probably a few cigarette butts. So I don't feel too bad about not having enough time to hike down in there myself, which, you know, if I did have the time, I totally would. But unfortunately, I have to be somewhere, believe it or not, at a certain time. And I'm already late, so I'm just gonna finish my little walk around the perimeter of this Arizona sinkhole, which actually, now that I'm looking at it, does kind of seem cooler than I originally thought, or at least a little bit more interesting. Again, I don't want to hike all the way down into the bottom of the sinkhole, but maybe I can get a better, well, I don't know if I'm going to be able to get a better view. It's just challenging because of the light and shadow right now, but I don't know if you can see inside that cave down there. There's a lot of ashes. It looks like kids go down there and have bonfires. Can you imagine what a fun place that would be to have a bonfire with the acoustics, the echo, the fact that only the toughest could get down to it? Boy, talk about a way to weed out the weak from your party. If you ever want to have a party and only invite the fittest and most adventurous of your friends, have it down at the bottom of a sinkhole in the desert. Everybody knows that. Anyway, that's pretty much all there is to the great Arizona sinkhole. And it's a good thing there isn't anything super interesting down there because, like I said, I don't have time to go check it out. Anyway, because believe it or not, there's still 2 more interesting attractions in this little area of, well, what I was calling the Arizona Strip, but which will soon become Utah, that I want to check out before I get to my final destination. So let's get back in the car and keep on cruising. Okay, welcome to Utah, y'all. I'm not even gonna cut my engine at this next stop because it's a quickie, but I think it's very interesting. Okay, these informational signs here at the side of the road mark the fact that we are on the Old Spanish Trail. Okay, the Old Spanish Trail, the trail that the Spaniards used to get from Santa Fe to Los Angeles back before there were any interstate highways or railroads, let alone really even any roads at all. You can see on the sign here that they started way back in New Mexico in Santa Fe and went up through Abiquiu, Durango, Colorado, Moab, Green River, Salina, and now down to the place where we are, right here, just outside, well, between St. George and Mesquite, Nevada. And then from there, the Spanish Trail actually passes right by my house. Right down around there somewhere. I live right off the Old Spanish Trail Highway. And I actually made a video hiking part of the Old Spanish Trail that you can check out if you're interested. Anyway, aside from this sign, there's another sign here that's got a picture of what it must have looked like to be traveling the Old Spanish Trail. Guy on a mule, I guess. Yeah, it says mule packers. Arrieros. Leading a bunch of mules that I think they took textiles from New Mexico out to Los Angeles and then traded them for horses and brought the horses back to New Mexico. Or maybe I got that backwards. Oh, no, it says here, the New Mexican traders bartered their goods for horses and mules and drove large herds back to Santa Fe. And that's why there were so many horse thieves hiding along the way in the mountains near where I live today, and also in the Cajon Pass. There were dens of notorious horse thieves that just sort of lay in wait for these pack trains to come by, and then it was just easy pickings. Anyway, what I think is cool here is they have these metal statues of an old pack train sort of posted up in the desert to give you an idea of what it must have looked like 200-300 years ago when these guys were traveling through here. I guess it was more like 200 years ago, the 1820s, 1830s, 1840s, all the way up until the Transcontinental Railroad was built, I guess. Which, as everyone knows, was the end of all the fun. Now anybody could get west. You didn't have to be hardcore anymore. You know, back in the day, if you wanted to get to California, you had to earn it. You either had to ride a mule or walk, or if you were lucky, sit in a wagon or a stagecoach like that pansy-ass Mark Twain. If you wanted to get out there. Nowadays, anybody can get to California. And maybe that's part of the problem. Anyway, like I said, this is just a quick stop because I am in a hurry and I have one more place to check out before I head on. And also, well, someone just pulled off the highway right behind me and I think they're waiting for me to shut up so they can get out and check out this marker, I guess you would call it. But I thought it was definitely worth stopping at since we're in this part of the country anyway. Okay, I've arrived at the last point of interest I had pinned on my map, and woo-wee, it looks like a humdinger. Okay, you can see I'm parked at the base of this craggy rock formation, that goes on for quite a ways and is apparently home to some caves, I guess? Or maybe mine adits? I'm not sure. These ones over here are definitely more like caves, and in fact, well, they're pretty shallow. They don't go back very far at all, which is a good thing because I certainly don't have enough time to explore anything more than one creepy opening today. Oh, looks like your mom was here. Well, I wish you would have told me. I would have told her hi. Anyway, I guess I'm gonna go in this mine adit slash cave slash terrifyingly creepy opening at the side of some random Utah highway. Let's just go in a bit and see if there's anything cool in here. Okay, well, the first thing I see is there's graffiti. And the second thing I see, well, actually I don't see it, I smell it, is a ton of piss. Apparently people pull over and piss in this cave. And then the last thing I see is a couple of beer cans at the end of this cave, which really doesn't go back that far at all. Ooh, wait, you know that musty cave smell? It's never really that pleasant, even at the best of times, but when it's mixed with the really heavy stench of piss, it's not very pleasant. I mean, looks like people do all kinds of dumb stuff in here, including lose their shoe, drink whiskey, party with whatever it was that spun that giant web, and there's no telling how many babies were conceived in this gross little roadside cave. I mean, that's the country for, you know, country kids. They don't really have a lot of stuff to do other than go cow tipping and cave and I guess. What do I know? I'm not from around here. Ooh, I'm gonna have to watch my language because we are in Utah now and they do not tolerate that kind of language. Guess I better say cave humping, okay? Anyway, there's really not much to this cave. According to the Google reviews, it's haunted and people felt these nefarious spirits when they went in there. Well, I'm a skeptic to begin with. And also, well, maybe the smell of piss is just so thick in there that it got to their brains and scrambled them a little bit so that they did think it was haunted. I certainly didn't feel anything nefarious in there other than whatever germs were probably lurking in there. And since I'm running late anyway, I guess I'm just gonna wrap up this stop. I mean, there's nothing else here. There's an old stone ruin on the other side of the highway, but it's all crumbled and busted. And the wind just picked up and it got inexplicably chilly. I guess I'm just gonna get in my car and keep rolling to my final destination. But I sure hope you enjoyed this tour of the wild and mysterious stuff around the Arizona Strip. Okay, not all of it was in Arizona, but remember, it's where the 3 states come together, and apparently it's where all the fun is.